Okay, here we go. Our men's cut. We'll be using layering, over direction, and a bias cutting technique to the top. So we'll begin on the right side of the head. So section out the top from the sides right at the parietal ridge where the hair starts to round. Comb the hair to natural fall. So begin at the sides by combing out a square line, and here you will be cutting layers through the entire sides. So line up your fingers, your combs, and cut in a 90-degree angle. Okay, as we work through the sides, I'll go and review some minute details that will allow you to cut your layers through the sides at the most excellent level of performance. So 1, as you comb the hair, line up your comb to mimic the angle that you intend to cut. So for example, through the sides here, I want to cut a 90-degree angle. So as I line up my section to that comb, I'll place the entire base of my comb at that section. So by placing my comb at the base, all I have to do is pull the hair directly out and just make sure that my comb doesn't deviate, so I know that I'm over directing the hair properly. And 2, since I'm cutting in square layers, I make sure that my comb is always pulling the hair out at a 90-degree angle, so that way I just have to have my fingers follow the base of my comb, because my fingers may have a tendency to deviate, to change shapes, but my comb is always a square line. The shape of my comb will not change. So by using your comb more efficiently, it'll up your cutting game significantly. Okay, and for the highest degree of control, stand exactly in front of what you're cutting, because again, that'll allow us to use our natural tendency to over direct hair to our center of balance, to our chest. So stand in front of what you're cutting while you're working the square layers through the sides. And also, do your very best not to go in and comb out a section too many times. The more often we do the same repetitive motion, the greater of the chances of making a mistake are. So have a clear intention in your mind and just execute it. Okay, so now at the round of the head, I'll start to work with diagonal sections. So clean out a section. I'll take the guideline from the back, and here I'm combing the hair out, and I continue layering, following my guideline through the sides. Now for the back portion of this haircut, I'll be using a lot of over direction because I'll start to build up my weight. So again, slightly diagonal sections, incorporate the guideline from the sides. So over direct the hair towards that shoulder, and then every section after will be over directed to the same point. So here we're building weight through our layers, and we're also creating graduation. So stand at that parallel to that right shoulder, and with this next section again is over directed to the exact same point, and the sections are just slightly diagonal to give my end result a softer feeling. Continue working with small manageable sections. Make sure you can always see a super clear guideline. Keep your fingers, elbows, comb, section all parallel, and continue to over direct to the exact same point. Also, you really want to have your eyes right in front of what you're cutting, so you can scoot down, pump the chair up, do what you have to do, because when your eyes are in front of what you're cutting, you can see every single detail that you need to take into consideration. Okay, so still approaching the back in the exact same manner. Now my intention here again is simple. A 90-degree line, every section is over directed towards the shoulder. Control my stroke count. Always see a super clean guideline, and just breathe and just make sure that as you execute the sides, everything's systematic. When everything's systematic, you'll pick up your pace on time, your end result will organically improve, and you'll gradually get a better understanding for the technique and the shape that you're creating. Okay, so now my section reaches over into the opposite side. This is done intentionally because soon I'll go and cut that opposite side, so where these two major sections in the back meet, I'll be blending. Okay, so now through the left side, I have to go in and cut once again the exact same shape, which is 90-degree layers through the sides, the exact same length. So after you put in your guideline, go in with your fingers and check for balance. Check for balance at the base of the section, at the top of the section, and if needed, check for balance at the center of the section. Once your guideline is in perfect, then you have a higher confidence to go in and just knock off the rest of the side. Okay, again, I'm standing in front of what I'm cutting. My guideline is super clean. My elbows are high, fingers are down. My elbows and fingers all mimic that 90-degree angle that I'm cutting through the sides. Now continue working in this manner until you reach the round of the head, and that's when we'll start to adapt our technique for the over direction that we'll be using in the back. But in the meantime, put all your focus on what you're actually doing. The way to nail a perfect haircut is just making sure that every single section you cut is amazing. And once the haircut's over and you go and calculate all those amazing sections and you put them together, that's what gives you an amazing result. There's not one magical trick that you just throw into your repertoire. It's attention to details and one step at a time. Okay, again, large section. So here we'll begin our over direction. So comb the hair straight out. Now as you're cutting the left, stand at the parallel to the left side shoulder. Over direct the hair to your center of balance. And make sure as you comb the hair out, you're not over directing, elevating the hair too far high or too far low, because that will alter your lengths. So make sure that with each section, as you comb out the hair that you comb is parallel to the teeth of your comb. So that's one super strong indicator that can let you know along the way that you're actually combing the hair and directing it properly. Okay, eyes again in front of what we're cutting. We're over directing the hair to that same point. So you'll notice as we work the sides, with each section, I'll be taking down less hair. So that's a good mind map. Your first guideline through the back, you'll be taking down more hair. Your very last section, less hair. So that lets you know that your shape is actually, again, going from shorter to longer. So we're creating layers and graduation. We're building our graduation through over direction. So through the back, we're creating graduated layers. And just be aware for like jumpy cowlicks at the hairline, because that can throw off your shape. Okay, so our next, again, slightly diagonal section. Now notice how the base of this section starts to incorporate a portion of the opposite side, which is good. I want my sections blending and connecting. When I find weight, I'll just remove it. So looking for those corners and that weight, that's an indicator. It's like a map that lets me know that, okay, my shape through the back is technically balanced when the weight is found at the appropriate area being where the sections connect. Again, through the top, I'll come out a symmetrical section, divide the left and right. And here, I'll come out slightly diagonal sections. I'll comb the hair straight up, and I'll take the guideline from the back. So again, the shape that I created through the back is graduated through that over direction. So as I reach the top, I'll be cutting in bias. So bias is, again, it's another word for graduation. When I'm building up a length that goes from shorter to longer, so I'm building up a corner. And the word bias is, it comes from like fashion. It's a technique they use to cut fabric in the fashion industry. So that's your background about bias. So I'll just keep on working in the same manner. Okay, and as you work to the top, just be really aware of your over direction. Here again, we're combing the hair straight out. We're not over directing the hair forward or back, because that again will alter our lengths. So work in small, manageable sections. Always make sure that you have a piece of the guideline through the side, because this entire haircut has to connect. When my shape connects, I'll have the greatest amount of movement and structural discipline. Like my hair will be fuller, it'll have a lot more movement, the shape will be more fluid and evident when everything connects. If a portion of the hair doesn't connect, then my whole shape will fall apart, and then that additional weight, it blocks the entire dynamic with my movement. Okay, so here, I'll cut the opposite side in the exact same manner. So I begin at the crown area. I'm connecting the sides, working off the guideline through the back and the side. So make sure you have a piece of the side and the guideline through the back. Comb the hair straight out. And whether you're cutting on the inside of your fingers or the outside of the fingers, it really doesn't matter. The only difference that I find is that when I cut on the inside of my fingers, my shape is technically much more accurate, because cutting on the inside of my fingers, my fingers bend less, and it gives the inside of my finger is more symmetrical to the shape that I'm actually cutting. Okay, so continuing to work in the same manner, cutting in bias, working off my guidelines, and always connecting in the sides. Now, through the top area here, his hairline has a bit of a recession, so for that area, I'll over direct backwards slightly, just to maintain some length. Then once the hair is dry, I'll go back and I'll blend and connect that area in perfectly. I'd rather go too long than too short. It's a safety measure, because once the hair is dry, again, I have to go back and refine the shape. So that'll be, right now I'm making a mental note to keep myself aware that once the hair is dry, I have to go back and connect this area perfectly. Okay, and for the blow dry, I'm just going in and I'll flat wrap the hair. So I'll push it in tons and tons of different directions. As I flat wrap the hair, I just want to blow the hair from the roots to the ends and have the nozzle follow the base of my best brush. So now that the hair is dry, I'll go back and I'll start refining my shape. I'll clean up around the ears. I'll do a bit of scissor over comb work just to get the shape nice and polished, because the hair does lie significantly different wet and dry. So just texturizing, just using the tips of my scissors. I'm not really going in and taking down length. I'm just balancing out the shape because his hair has a little bit of texture to it. So just going in, chipping into the shape where needed. In that shape until I can easily comb the hair from roots to ends. Alright, there we go. Enjoy.